And welcome back to another video on Across the Board. In today's video, we're going to be going over the NHL playoff picture and standings, as it is currently January 14, 2026. We were not able to get a podcast out on Monday. We were having a lot of difficulties getting that put together. We had to stop recording a couple times because our storage was getting full and all that great stuff. We had a lot of difficulties there. So that episode is not getting out, but we will have one out tomorrow, which will be January 15th on Thursday, so go check that out. But with that being said, we're going to get into today's playoff standings as they are as of January 14th after tonight's games. So as usual, we will run through each division, we will run through the conferences, and then we will kind of just go over some notes from around the league. Which is what we're going to go ahead and do right now. So we're going to go and look at some notes and news. James Reimer is headed to Ottawa for a 1-year, $850,000 deal. He was originally at Buffalo. Obviously, with Linus Ullmark's absence, they needed a goalie behind Marylainen. And so James Reimer is going to fill in that spot. I talked about on here before, they needed They needed somebody other than Marylainen. I think trying to ride with Marylainen to get you to the playoffs is not going to work with a lot of talent on that team. I think you need a little help. James Reimer, I think, is going to be a good addition for them. And hopefully it plays out in pans out in their favor to give them a playoff spot. And then Evason, he's out of Columbus. Rick Bowness takes over. Again, you hate to see it, obviously. Pacing coach get fired, but they are almost dead last in the East. They're second to last. They're just in front of New York, but not the season they've been wanting to have. Just have not made the playoffs in a minute. Just not how they wanted this season to go. So they're going to make their decision to move on from Bowness. And that's just some news and notes right now. So let's go ahead and get into the playoff picture. So we'll go ahead and start with the East, or conference. We'll start in the Atlantic Division. At 1, we have Tampa Bay with 61 points. 2 is Detroit Red Wings with 60 points. Montreal with 59 points. Move to the Metropolitan Division now. Carolina with 60. New York Islanders at 55. Washington 54. Then to the wild card, we have Buffalo with 54. Boston at 54. Then some teams lingering outside. We have Toronto at 53, Pittsburgh 52, Philadelphia 52, Florida 51. Now we'll head on to the West. In the Central Division, we have Colorado at 74, Dallas 63, Minnesota 61. In the Pacific, Vegas at 56, Edmonton 54, Seattle 51. In the wildcard slots, we have Utah at 50, San Jose at 49. And then some teams lingering outside, the Kings at 49, Nashville 48, Anaheim 47. So that's kind of what the picture stands as is right now on January 14th. Now let's kind of jump into some teams. We'll start with Tampa, 11-game win streak. Talk about playing good hockey, they're doing it. They're scoring. J.J. Moser, a great addition for this team. He's playing well. Obviously, with Nikita Kucherov scoring, this has been an offensive powerhouse. They're plus 44 in the goal differential, which I believe now is second in the league. Yeah, they're second in the league in goal differential, of course, behind Colorado. They're scoring a lot. They're getting a goaltending from Vasilevsky. This is a powerhouse team, and especially from the beginning of the season, with kind of how they were playing, they were off to a slow start, but this being a John Cooper-led team, we kind of suspected this to turn around, and it has. So they're playing well. Detroit, they're playing well. Not much really to say there. John Gibson's playing well. He's turned his season around since the beginning. They're going to be a good group with Moritz Seider, Lucas Raymond, Kopp, Larkin. This is going to be a good group. Detroit, Montreal is such a fun team to watch. We'll talk about Demidov, Cole Caulfield, Lane Hudson, The list goes on with them, and then of course Fowler in the net. I mean, this is a fun team to watch. Just the way they played. Again, it's such a young roster, too. And they're playing well. And to see them in a playoff spot, I mean, I think they'll remain a playoff team, but again, we don't know how this season has gone, but they're going to be a good team. A young one at that, but they are playing well. So I'm interested to see kind of where they finish off in this Atlantic. Move to the Metropolitan. You obviously have Carolina here. No surprise. Plus 16 goal differential. They're a good team. They definitely had some struggles defensively this season, but nothing major. I mean, they've had their moments, like a lot of teams have. I mean, they're a good team. They're going to be a playoff team. They're definitely a Stanley Cup contender. So we'll see how they pan out going forward. And you have New York getting great goaltending from Sorokin and David Rittich. Horvat's been a great goal scorer for them. He leads the team in goals. Matthew Schaefer has been absolutely incredible. Anthony Duclair's been playing well for this team. Excited to see how they play out going forward. Washington's been a very interesting team for me. So they are plus 18 in the goal differential. 54 points. They currently sit third in the Metropolitan right now. They're an interesting team to me because, to me, this is... I don't know what to think. I think they can score. I think they're going to get They're going to get great goaltending. But I think if you watch how they play defensively, how their defensive game is, I don't think they're a defensively great team. From what I've seen, they've given up. They give up. They give up a lot of shots. They give up great chances. I think kind of get masked, with how good Logan Thompson has been. I think defensively they're a team that has kind of struggled, but it quite hasn't really popped off and shown yet. I think it has at times, but I don't know how far they will make it in the playoffs. I think it all depends on the matchup. I think defensively they'll crumble. I think Logan Thompson's going to have to play outstanding, and you're asking a lot of him in this situation. But again, we'll see. Buffalo, they've been playing well, 8-2-0 in their last 10. How good they've been defensively, Byram, Rasmus Dahlin. This is a group that has played so well. Luukkonen's playing well. This team has come around. And they're looking like a playoff team. They are, and that may be crazy to some, but they're just playing like one. They've stayed consistent so far. Again, they're 45 games in. You're looking at probably, what are we at now? 37 games left for them. So again, still a lot of season left, but as well as they're playing, they could very well see themselves in a playoff spot. Now we move to Boston, kind of move these next few teams. Boston, they've won 4 in a row. They've gotten hot. Korpisalo and Swayman have been playing well. I kind of talked about it. I think when teams are starting to get hot, things are connecting. This team can score. They have guys who can score. We know that. But the big issue for me, I talk about the goaltending. Their goaltending has been amazing. Korpisalo, I think, is one of the worst goalies in the league, in my opinion. And I think kind of the numbers will show that. Swayman has not had his absolute best, but they played well. They got this team to 4 wins in a row. Now they're in a playoff spot. They're playing well. We'll kind of, staying on the goalie train, we'll move down to Toronto. They got blown out by Utah 6-1. Hillby didn't play well, but other than that, they played well in their games recently. I think Hildeby and Wall have been playing well. Their goaltending has gotten better. And another thing I talked about with them, I think goaltending had to be better. This is a team we know can score goals, but can they get the goaltending? Can they get the saves needed? Can they get the few extra saves a game? That was huge. And they've gotten that. They're sitting right here, 7-1-2 in their last 10. They're sitting right there just outside looking in. So we'll see what they can do. Pittsburgh's 6-3-1 in their last 10. They've gotten some good goaltending from Sheeloff and Skinner. They just haven't found the bat to get a net in their last couple. But I think Skinner, Sheeloff, and defensively, they've kind of buckled down after their struggles a few weeks ago. I think just finding the back of the net, I think will be huge for them, and I think they start finding the back of the net, keep the goaltending going, they'll find themselves in a playoff spot. Philadelphia, they've lost 3 in a row. They've been outscored in their last 4, 19-6. They've had some troubles defensively. They have not been able to find the back of the net. Defensively, they've kind of fell apart. Have not gotten the few extra saves from Urson and Vladar. Again, this has been the story of this season, and we'll kind of talk about it more as in this video. But the big thing about this season, and I guess it's one of those things that you could talk about every year. It's been the season of stretches, right? Like we talk about Buffalo. Buffalo was not a playoff team, 20 games into the season, even 30 games into the season. They really weren't. But then they went on a 10-game win streak. They're in a playoff spot right now. Have a chance to make a wildcard spot. Couldn't even get a divisional spot. We could go to the West, Seattle. When they went down 9 in a row, I sat up here and I would just simply said what I said. I'm like, they're not going to make the playoffs, and I kind of just booted them out. I had nothing much else to say. They're in a playoff spot. They're on a roll. Like, this season has been all about runs, and we've seen that this year in the league. And we'll kind of get more into that later on in the video. Florida, man. Florida is only 3 points out, but they've got 2 in a row. But the big thing to me has just been consistency. There's moments this year where, you look at this team and, they beat Colorado. You're like, oh, hey. Well, I mean, would you look at that? And then they would only score 1, lose 4-1 the next game. I mean, they just haven't, to me, quite had the consistency. The PK's been solid this year. Power play has not been at its best. Not its absolute best, for sure. But the PK has been solid this year for this team. They sit 21st on the power play. To me, it's just been the inconsistency. I think to be a good team in the playoffs, and they know this, I mean, them being a Stanley Cup team, they're going to have to find a consistency level to stay on. And maybe this may be it. They won 2 in a row. We'll see if they can keep a streak going here. But get a consistent play. Win some games, keep it going, and follow up. Not win one, lose the next, and not be consistent. And we kind of talk about that with Utah in the West. They kind of found themselves on a hot streak right now. We'll talk about them when we get to the West. But, again, you have to be consistent to make the playoff. You have to be a consistent team if you want to be a Stanley Cup playoff team. I think it's just simple as that. And then obviously we'll cap it off. New Jersey, Ottawa, Columbus, New York. No Shesterkin for New York. They've lost 4 in a row. They're out of the playoffs, I think. I don't see them being able to make it. They can't score. They're not getting really much goal support. They've given up 10 against Boston. They gave up 8 tonight against Ottawa. It's been a problem. It's been a major problem. New Jersey, they haven't been able to find the back of the net. Now, they won their last 2. They found the back of the net, so maybe that may change. But before these last 2 wins, they have not been able to find the back of the net, and they're a bottom team league in scoring. They have not been able to find the back of the net, and that's why they are where they are in the standings. You have to have goal support. Look, Markstrom's a goalie, Allen's a solid goalie. They're solid goalies, but you have to have goal support. You can't rely every night on your goalie to make big save after big save. You just can't. That's not a healthy way to be. It's not a recipe for success for the playoffs. So that's going to kind of wrap up the East. We'll head to the West. Talk about some teams here. All right, Colorado now. Colorado has been interesting. They've had an interesting stretch of games for sure. In their last 3 losses, which have all come, I believe, in the last 5 games. We're going to look real quick just to make sure I'm correct on this and given the right information here. But in their last 3 losses for Colorado, they have been 1 for 9 on the power play, 11%. We talked about their power play struggles. Their total margin of loss was 4 goals in those 3 games. So they were in those games, but the big issue being, you have to be able to capitalize on your chances or you'll get in trouble like they kind of have. And I think it's kind of where they fell off in that moment. Let's see here. Yeah, they lost 3 in their last 5. But, again, when you get the opportunity, again, they're one of the worst power plays in the league. I believe they're sitting at 26th on the power play. No, they're 24th on the power play, 16.9%. But they're one of the worst power play teams in the league. When you get your opportunities to find the back of the net, you have to find the back of the net. So they've been kind of susceptible this past week and a half, couple weeks. But again, that could just be a fluke. Things happen. I mean, you're not going to be you can't really set a bar too high. I think it's one of the big things is you don't want to set the expectations so high that it's not really, I guess, reachable. I mean, you're going to drop games at points. I mean, it's hard to win so many games in the NHL. It's tough to do. But they're a good team. I think they'll be okay. We'll see if they can get the power play turned around, though. Dallas. Penalties. They have taken a bunch of penalties over these past couple of weeks. San Jose. San Jose had a comeback win against Dallas with 4 power play goals. That should never happen. It should never happen. Simple as I can put it. I think San Jose was 4 for 6 that day. Penalties on power play. Dallas had their struggles with penalty. They've had some trouble recently finding the back of the net and turnovers. I mean, again, each team, you have these stretches during the season, so it's not really a panic. It's just one of those things it has to be noticed, because if this continues, you don't want it to continue, but it's just you have to pay attention to it. You have to see if it's able to get fixed, because we've kind of seen, these flukes, these flaws be shown now, and they continue to the Stanley Cup playoffs. But again, they need to be a little more disciplined. They need to find the back of the net, and they need to take care of the puck. That's my keys for them. Minnesota, they just dropped 5-2 in New Jersey. Did not have a great night, but again, I think they'll be okay. They are 2-4. They're 4-2-4 in their last 10. They've definitely had an interesting stretch in their past 10. They've definitely allowed a lot of goals. They haven't been great on defense. Walston hasn't been his absolute best. Again, you can't set a standard too high though. But defensively, they've had their struggles. But again, they're going to be a good team. They're going to be a playoff team. Definitely a Stanley Cup team, I think. And this whole Central Division can be a Stanley Cup playoff team. So it's just something that has to be monitored and pay attention to there. But kind of seeing some flaws in these teams. But every team's got a flaw. But now they're being shown between those 3. And then we have the Pacific Division, where there's been a bunch of just craziness. Vegas, they've won 5 in a row. They seem to be back on track. Shea Theodore's back in the lineup. Vegas is scoring. Akira Schmidt's playing well. Still no Carter Hart in the lineup with his leg injury. Hopefully his time will return. However, some news for Vegas. He could return January 15th to play against Toronto, which would be interesting, and I think it would be huge news for Vegas if they get him back in the lineup and put him back in net. That would definitely, I think, bring some energy to the locker room. I think this team will kind of have a little, let's say, a spark. And so we'll kind of see how that plays, but this team's been playing well. They've kind of got back on track. They've had their struggles, and that happens, but they're kind of getting back on track. They're finally back in line, so we'll see how this continues with them. Edmonton, 5-3-2. Again, they're going to be a playoff team. I mean, really not much to say there. They'll be a playoff team. Tristan Jarry is back in the lineup. This is going to be a good team. I'm excited to see how they play the remainder of the season. Again, I think Tristan Jarry was huge in the lineup, especially because you're not going. I don't think you'll be a Stanley Cup team with Pinker and Ingram as your netminders. So that's huge for them to get Tristan Jarry back. Seattle's one of those teams that's gotten hot. 6-1-3 in their last 10. They're one of those teams who have been playing great. They are that team that lost 9 in a row, and I thought, well, they're done. They're scoring goals. They're getting great goaltending. Playing solid defense. It's a recipe for success. I mean, when you're doing the fundamental things right, you're going to win games. And that's what's happening. They're playing well. They're scoring. Getting solid goaltending. Playing solid defense. They're doing what it takes to win games, and that's what you have to do in this league. You have to find ways to win games. Go to the wild card now. Talk about Utah. One of the teams I talked about with being very inconsistent. I've talked about the inconsistency of this team from, like tonight they get a big win 6-1, and then the next night they'll lose 4-1. Like, this is a very talented team. Dylan Guenther, J.J. Peterka, Lawson Krause, Clayton Keller, and many more on this team who are. Nate Schmidt, Kale Sergachev. This is a solid roster in Utah. Vejmelka. They've got a roster to be a solid team, but they have to play consistent hockey. You have to be consistent in this league. Like, you can't go back and forth between, we'll play good this night and alternate nights, because you're going to be a very mid-average team. You may sneak into a wild card spot and you'll be a first-round exit. You have to be consistent. You have to show you can win games in a row. Consistency. And right now, they're 6-3-1 in their last 10. They've kind of pieced something together. And if this Utah team is able to do that, they'll be an interesting team to see and how they pan out the rest of the season. So I'm excited for that. Of course, San Jose. What a story. If they're able to make the playoffs, this will be one amazing season for this team. That's all you can really say here. On the power play, they're 20.9% on the power play, which puts them at 13th in the league. On a penalty kill, they're 77.9, which puts them at 24th in the league, or they're 77.6. But Mackle-Zelebrini is so fun to watch. Winberg, so fun to watch. Eklund, so fun to watch. Smith, fun to watch. This is just Askarov, fun to watch. This is a fun group of guys to watch. This is a solid team that's kind of built themselves together. And then, of course, you have Tyler Toffoli on the roster. One of the old, if not he's the oldest guy on that team. But what they've been able to accomplish this season with what they've had, they've done exactly what they needed to do to be a playoff team. They've done the thing necessary. They're scoring goals. Askarov is playing solid in net. This is such a fun team to watch. It's so exciting watching this team play, and it's amazing seeing what they've been able to do and how they've pieced themselves together. And if they make the playoffs, it'll just be insane for this group. So it's something to pay attention to. Alright, we're going to have these bottom three teams in the wild card, or these three teams next in the wild card. This is where it gets interesting. We have the Kings here, 4-4-2 in their last 10. What was wrong with this team? This is a. I'm so confused because this is a solid roster. Again, this is a good roster they have here. They haven't been able to find the back of the net. They've had some defensive struggles. I mean, with the roster you have, you should be second or third in the Pacific Division. You should not be staying outside of a playoff spot. If you're the Kings, you should not be staying out of a playoff spot. That's as simple as it can be. The power play has kind of found some life. And I think that was good considering they were one of the bottom teams in the league on the power play. Right now, they're 27th. Or, no, that's wrong. That's for the PK. Well, they're 27th on the power play as well. But we've talked about them not being able to score, the first thing, and then them having their moments where defensively they've struggled. I mean, this is a good roster. You know, Byfield's going to need to play. I mean, you have Byfield, Fiala, Darcy Kemper, Fogle, Doughty, Kempe. I mean, the list goes on with guys. I mean, you should be first center. I mean, you should be in a Pacific Division spot. At the worst, a wild card. They have got to get this turned around. You are a playoff team. You have a playoff roster. You should absolutely not be sitting outside a playoff spot at this time in the season. A lot of hockey left, though, so we'll see if they can get that turned around. We get these last two teams here, and you have Nashville here lurking. They're just an interesting team. They've won 2 in a row. I mean, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I think they've just kind of worked their way to here, and I think this is where they kind of digress. But, again, they've done the things necessary to get themselves where they need to be. Of course, there's been a bunch of rumors, of course, of where guys are going to go. Like, I mean, they, especially being a team that we thought would be kind of stellars towards trade deadline. With you obviously have Stamkos on the team, Roman UC, UC Soros, but Arnold and as well. I mean, this isn't a bad team. Like, it's not a bad team. They just had their struggles. I mean, when they built the roster they did, I was one of the people sitting here going, like, dang, this is a playoff team. This may even be a Stanley Cup team. And they disappointed. But I know they're going to be a playoff team. But they'll be an interesting team to watch going forward here. I don't really know what to say about them. Like, they're just a weird team. Like, they're just lurking here. Like, there's really not much to say about them. Like, they're just here. So we'll kind of move on to the next team. The kind of the final team we'll talk about, Anaheim. They finally snapped their 9-game losing streak. Brutal. I think in 5 of those games, they allowed 5+ goals. What we learned, they've got their defensive struggles. Dostal and Mrazek are not the answer for this team. I mean, Dostal has just not played well this season, and that's simple as you can make it. I mean, obviously, when they've had their struggles, the simple thought was, okay, well, I was like, all right, let's put Mrazek in. I thought that's what would happen. It didn't. Or it did. They put him in, and it was just worse. The goaltending has been great. They've had their defensive struggles. They get a huge 3-1 win against Dallas last night, and this kind of makes you wonder if they're going to be able to flip this around. And is this the spark they need to get back to a playoff push? Again, it's a young roster. There's a lot of talent. But can they make that push? That's the big question for this team. Well, with that being said, that's all we got covered tonight for the NHL playoff picture. If you're new, go follow us on our socials, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and a bunch of others. Go follow those, and we will cover a lot more sports content besides hockey on Mondays and Thursdays on the pod, so go check those out. Alright, and until then, we will see y'all next time.